Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about a handheld. This is one I actually forgot for a period of time that I owned. A few years ago I bought, I think it was on eBay, an LCL PiBoy. This is one of the ones that has a Raspberry Pi 3B inside of it. And it's got pretty traditional looking D-pad, a select and start button, just like the Game Boy. But it's got 6 face buttons, and also it has a little analog stick, kind of similar to what the PlayStation Vita has. But it's a nice little system. It has a slot for an SD card. There's no HDMI out on this one, but it does have actually an Ethernet port, so you could connect it wired to your network. I don't actually do that. I just use Wi-Fi. It has I believe it's just a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi adapter in it, so you will need access to a 2.4 gigahertz wireless network to get the most out of this. But one thing, this may not affect a lot of people because I don't think this guy even makes these anymore. If you're gonna buy a handheld, you're probably gonna get a newer one. So I don't think this is going to be something people are gonna be able to go out and get right now. So this video is more for anyone who actually already owns one, because, maybe like 4 years ago, a lot of people were posting videos about the LCL PiBoy. And from what I've been able to find, nobody really talked about loading a different operating system on it. Mine came with preloaded with some games on an SD card, and it was running Recalbox 6.0, I believe, Dragon Blaze. And everybody that has a video, I've seen videos talk about, you can load RetroPie on it, but they really don't go into the details, and it's not quite as simple as just going and downloading RetroPie, flashing it to an SD card, sticking it in, and powering it on. And the major reason for that is because of the screen on this. This does have a 3.5 inch IPS display. It's a really nice looking display. But it can cause some problems for trying to flash RetroPie onto this. So today I wanted to fill in any gaps for anyone who may own one of these LCL PiBoy 3Bs. And let's flash RetroPie onto it. So starting out, you're going to need to get RetroPie first of all. So you can just go to the RetroPie site, into the download section. And right here, because this does have a Raspberry Pi 3B in it, we want the one that's for the Pi 3. So this one says Raspberry Pi 2302W. So this is the one you want to download right here. Once downloaded, just extract the file. You'll end up with this .image file, .img. So again, I'm going to use Balena Etcher. Once it gets started up here, we'll do flash from file. And we'll just find our RetroPie Buster 4.8 image file, select it, and hit OK. We're going to flash to our SD card, and choose flash. And this will probably take a few minutes to flash. Once this finishes, we will pick back up and with the next steps. Alright, here we are with the flash completed. So we can go ahead and close out of this. And if we look at our SD card, we've got an overlays directory and a whole bunch of files. We're going to make some edits to these, but first I want to take a look at a file on my desktop that I called piboyscreen.txt. I'll just open that up in Notepad to show off here. And I'll put this in the description as well. But these are the magic lines that set up the screen. So we definitely have to include this. You could probably just copy this and put it right into the config.txt, but I like to keep it separate. So I'm going to just copy this file and go back to the root of our SD card, and I'm just going to paste this in to here. You can call the file whatever you want. It just needs to contain the specific information that I just showed you. But like I said, I called it piboyscreen.txt. So what we need to do now is edit config.txt. And just somewhere in this file, I'll do it down here at the bottom. Type include and the name of your file. piboyscreen.txt in my case, so I've got include piboyscreen.txt. And if you want, you can make a couple of other adjustments. The original recalbox config had disable overscan equals 1, so you can uncomment that if you want. I don't think it's necessary. It also had HDMI force hot plug enabled, so you can uncomment those if you want. But again, I don't think they're actually necessary to make this work. But then you would just save this file. And one more thing I like to change is this cmd line or command line .txt file. And I like to just go in here. You can do it pretty much anywhere, but I'll put it here right after root wait. And do one word, fast boot. And then save that file. That'll just really speed up the boot process. There are some other things you can do I'm not going to get into to maybe shave a little bit of time off the boot. But all in all, the boot time's not too bad. I'll show you that later on my fully loaded up system. But yeah, that's really all you need to do. At this point, what you can do is take your SD card out of your PC, your micro SD card, insert it into the LCL PiBoy 3B. Make sure that it's either fully charged or you've got it connected to a power source, just so you don't run out of battery charge in the middle of trying to install RetroPie. Because it can take several minutes to complete that initial install and boot up. But what you'll do is just put the SD card in and turn the PiBoy on and just wait. You should eventually arrive at emulationstation, which will prompt you to set up your controls. And you would just follow the on-screen instructions to set up the controls. I like to do on the LCL PiBoy 3B, the A and B buttons are labeled. So I typically keep those when setting it up the same. Where it says A, I'll do the A. When it says B, I'll do the B. For X and Y, for X, I'll do the button right above the A button, and Y, I'll do the button above the B button. The D-pad controls are straightforward. Start and select are labeled on the PiBoy, so that's straightforward. You've only got one analog stick, so set it up as the left, so when it asks you to press like left analog up, left analog, left, just move that accordingly. On the back of this are the L and R buttons, so set those up appropriately. And for L2 and R2, I just use the other two face buttons, the one to the left of the B button and the one to the left of the button that's right above the B button. But I don't really get a lot of play with those because this thing is really, it's going to handle pretty much anything up through PlayStation 1. So it's going to handle things like, NES, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Super NES. It can actually do pretty decently some N64 games, but the lack of a right analog stick makes it kind of awkward for N64 games that need those C buttons. Now, I guess you could program something like you could configure it so like the D-pad on N64 games are the C buttons, but that would be kind of awkward because it's right above the analog stick, so you'd need to take your thumb off the analog stick to hit a C button. So I don't like that, and it's not going to do too well on all N64 games. Like, I don't see it running GoldenEye very well. I think that'll have a lot of frame drops and maybe audio stuttering, and it just doesn't, meet sort of my own personal qualifications for running N64 games. Kind of the same with PSP. So I would definitely make PS1 kind of the cutoff if you're using one of these, because it's going to do PS1 pretty good and everything kind of below that. But yeah, you just you put the SD card in, turn it on, and wait until you get there and configure your buttons, and you should be good to go. Then you've got a standard RetroPie install. And it should be on your wireless network. Oh my god, I forgot about the network setup. Actually, scratch all of that. Before you eject the SD card from your PC, go ahead and here in the root directory of the SD card. Wow, I can't believe I got way ahead of myself. Sorry for that. Create a new text document and call it ssh.txt. You don't need to put anything in it. You just need to have a file there called ssh.txt. And what that's going to do is that's going to enable you to be able to SSH into the system once it's booted up. And then we're going to create another file. Call this one WPA underscore supplicant, supplicant.txt. And if you go to Google and search for RetroPie Wi-Fi, you should see this Wi-Fi RetroPie docs. If you go into there, one of the options here is connecting to Wi-Fi without a keyboard. Just copy everything in this section. Open up the WPA supplicant.txt file that you just created and paste that in there. And you can keep the quotes, but in between them where it says your real Wi-Fi SSID, you'll want to replace that and just type in your 2.4 gigahertz wireless network SSID, or the network name. And for PSK, same thing. In between the quotes, put in, just type in your actual Wi-Fi password for that network. I believe it, after the first boot, if you were to pull the card out, put it back in your PC, and look at this file, it actually does encrypt it. But initially, it'll be the plain text password for your Wi-Fi network. You should also change your country code. If you are not in the US, it defaults to the US. I am, so I would leave that the same. So the SSID and password are all I would need to change in this file. And then save it. I'm not actually going to save this one, though. Okay, at this point, sorry that I kind of got ahead of myself earlier, but at this point, you would want to eject this and do all the stuff I said earlier. Put it in the PiBoy, turn it on, wait a little while. You'll eventually get to the configure control prompt. And then you should be pretty solid. You're at that point, you're set up with a RetroPie install. The default network name is going to just be RetroPie, and now you should be able to SSH into it. So what I'm going to do is fire up my LCL PiBoy 3B. It's already got RetroPie on it, and I've got a lot of games and stuff loaded up on it. But I just want to show you how to SSH into it. So at this point, you put the SD card in, you've turned it on, you waited a little while, it eventually booted emulationstation, and you set up your controls. Because we put this WPA supplicant, it should now be on your Wi-Fi network, and because we put this SSH .txt file, we should be able to SSH into it. So, we're going to do that by doing SSH. The username is going to be pi, so do SSH pi at, and again the network name is going to be RetroPie. So SSH pi at RetroPie. And the password is going to be raspberry. RASPBERRY. And boom, you're in there. And that's basically all you need to get up and running with RetroPie on the LCL PiBoy 3B. But one thing problem I had with it was that, and it could just be my eyes aren't what they used to be. I had a really hard time seeing stuff on the screen, especially in the console. So if I went on the PiBoy itself and like went to RetroPie config, things were really hard to read. Even messing around with the configuration a bit, I couldn't really find anything that made the console as readable as I would want it to be. So the good news is you can run all of those RetroPie configuration commands from this SSH prompt. So one thing I do recommend doing is installing a different theme. There are several themes and you can Google for them to find out what they all are. I'll show you one here in a moment. There are several themes that are really designed for small screens. So I'll show you one that I liked. So once you're in here, let's do a sudo / retropie -setup retropie _setup.sh. And I'm just going to go ahead and press enter. It may take a little bit longer to get to this point for you on the initial run. I've already run this, and I've actually already installed this theme on my PiBoy. But yeah, you just arrow down to Configuration Tools, and arrow down to ES Themes, and press Enter on ES Themes. And then you can choose one of these install options. The one I'm running right now, and I do recommend this, is, let me arrow down. I have several of them installed, but I'm going to try and find the one that I really like. Yeah, it's this one, this GBZ35 -dark. This is what I've got running right now. I highly recommend this one. I think it looks pretty great for most of the stuff happening in emulationstation. It doesn't really fix the console font, which would be the screens that look like the one that you're looking at right now when you go into configuration, which is going to be like a curses or in curses based menu. These, they're just really, no matter what I do in the configuration for the font, or for the console font, it's just always hard to read. Or if I'm able to make it big enough to read, it's too big. I just haven't found that, sort of Goldilocks spot with the fonts yet. It's either too small and I'm straining my eyes, or it's so big it runs off the screen and basically becomes unreadable that way. But yeah, I do recommend installing one of the 3.5-inch screen themes, such as GBZ 35 Dark. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. But yeah, that's basically all there is to it, to installing RetroPie on an LCL PiBoy 3B. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and ask you to, if you found this helpful, to go ahead and hit the like button on this video, and make sure to please subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching. And what I'm going to leave you with now is a video showing off what my PiBoy looks like and what its boot process looks like. Sorry, I apologize in advance. The video is a little shaky cam. I did not want to take the time to actually mount the camera, so I just sort of held it in my hand, and my hands are sometimes a little shakier than I would like them to be. So I do apologize for that, but go ahead and enjoy this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.